Hi there, welcome to this new IT Conversations session. I am Tom, Managing Director for ITQ in Belgium and Luxembourg, and I'm very fortunate to have two very interesting guests today. Frederiek van Hoornick, SE Manager for VMware in Belgium and Luxembourg, and Thomas Bernard, a Presales Consultant for ITQ. In this session we will explain you why a multi-cloud strategy takes you straight into the future. But Frederiek, let's start with the beginning. Cloud, private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, rainy cloud. Let's start with the proper definition. What do we actually mean when we talk about cloud?
I'll start with the explanation, but let's put rainy cloud aside. We prefer the sun. Indeed. But in general idea, the cloud is not really a place, but it's a kind of way of working. It's a model that we want to adopt to organizations. And you mentioned a lot of types of clouds. You mentioned private cloud, and everybody, I think, seems to get the fact that a private cloud is on-prem, and then you build like an own environment, software-defined, and so on. You also mentioned hybrid cloud, multi-cloud. So we have public cloud. You also mentioned. So we have the public cloud vendors like Microsoft Azure, like Amazon, like Google, Alibaba, and a couple of others, of course. And the general idea, if you look at how to consume cloud, is multi-cloud or hybrid cloud. It's multi-cloud is really the definition of you have an application, you run it on cloud 1, another one on cloud 2, and another one on cloud 3. They do not need to talk to each other. They're separate environments. That's a multi-cloud environment. Customer is having a multi-cloud environment on that one. The second part is hybrid cloud. And hybrid cloud, this is where 95%, I think, of the Belgian customers reside in, where a customer has an application in his on-prem environment, but also in his cloud environment. They talk to each other. They can move from on-prem to cloud, but vice versa. So that's really a hybrid approach. And I always say that a hybrid is always a multi-cloud, but a multi-cloud is not always a hybrid at the end.
So Thomas, why are so many customers going to the cloud?
Well, there is multiple reasons, but let's go back in time. And when companies, enterprises started to use the cloud, it was because the developers were not able to use or find the right services, the right tooling within the IT department. And they have looked into the public cloud and found them. So they started using it. It was quite easy, simple to set, fast, and bang, you had shadow IT running in your back and applications running in the public cloud. And when we first talk about multi-cloud strategy, it's more because of a lack of cloud governance, where several business lines were using several different public cloud, and you had multi-cloud strategy. In between, of course, there are other reasons that are more pragmatical. There is some kind of services, capabilities like machine learning, artificial intelligence, big data, that are far more easier or less costly to use or run in the public cloud instead on premises. And this is the main reason why now customers or companies are looking at the public cloud to run some workloads.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. So, but multi-cloud seems to imply different ways of working. So my question, is that then going to be efficient? How does VMware technology tackle that?
Well, indeed, if you look again at what Thomas was telling, is that you have different type of clouds. So if you go for a hybrid or a multi-cloud solution, it's really getting to know those kind of public clouds. And Microsoft Azure comes with his set of features. Amazon comes with the other sets of features. So teams need to get know-how on those set of features every time. So what VMware will do is offer like a consistent infrastructure as a service layer and making sure that this is always the same, and they already know the technology from the on-prem like before, stretch that to the public clouds, and then you have a consistent layer. And of course, what we will do on top of that is creating a management layer for those public clouds and for your on-prem, that it's a consistent platform for your IT operations to manage those VMs, containers, and so on.
So we actually have helped several customers boost the value of their VMware Cloud Foundation. Thomas, can you summarize what were the key learnings from those projects that we did?
Yeah, well, my first advice will be watch the IT conversation called Boost Your Value with VMware Cloud Foundation. But I'm in good mood today, so I will do that summarize for you. First, as Frederiek had explained, there is a single layer of management and deployment, which is through a single pane of glass, will help you manage on-prem and public cloud in the same way, which is fantastic. Also, it will elevate your security because it's secure as design. You will be able to use the same policies on-prem in the public cloud and make sure that your communication and data are secure, whatever they are. Also, you will have the capability of the lifecycle management and automation, which brings simplicity and better time to market when it comes to deploy new application, new features. And the last one is you can take full control because you will gain visibility. You will have dashboard that shows you what happens on-prem in the public cloud. You can manage your cost. You can also enable reporting that will show you what is happening. It's event-driven. You can also take decision based on those events and make it more efficient. So you're really back in control, where it's not always the case when you're using the own public cloud management layer.
So based on this real-life customer feedback, it's very fair to say that VMware Cloud Foundation is a great foundation to build a multi-cloud strategy on. Now, last year at VMworld, Pat Gelsinger made a famous statement that multi-cloud and modern apps are like fish and chips, and we've recorded a separate IT conversation session around that. But Frederiek, why do these two go so hand in hand?
Well, first of all, you need to think about who asks for those modern apps, who asks those apps in the business. Yeah. And it's mostly business oriented because they think about customer experience, employee experience, and so on. So it's the business that's asking for those apps. So at the end, it's the applications that at a certain moment define that cloud strategy, because that app will say, well, will not say, but it will determine where that app needs to run. And in the end, you need to run that app where it runs best. It could potentially run best on an on-prem environment, but also it could run best in a cloud environment, or vice versa. And that is something that we need to think about. And of course, if you can run that app in the cloud and maximize the benefits that you get, like already Thomas mentioned, use the AI behind that, or machine learning and so on, use the technology from that cloud, well, then you have an amazing set that you can use and go for a hybrid or a multi-cloud solution.
Okay, so all good reasons to adopt a multi-cloud strategy. Thomas, a customer who is at the beginning of his project and doesn't really know where to start, what would your advice be for that customer?
Well, you know my mojo.
I know your mojo.
That's the simple and best way to start. We have a service offering called Cloud Digitalization Assessment. And with this, we can start with the why. Frederiek mentioned it several times. Why is almost, this is the most important way to start, and then we can define the best action plan, the use case, the best solution in terms of technology, and we can help them from A to Z to deploy that multi-cloud strategy.
Yeah. You hear it. So if I would summarize what I learned from Frederiek and from Thomas, is cloud is not a place to go, it's a way of working. VMware Cloud Foundation provides a consistent infrastructure as a service across data center and clouds. It's actually your application landscape and strategy that would define your multi-cloud strategy, because you want your application to run on the best platform for its specific needs, and that can be across clouds and data centers, right? So I would like to wrap up this session by proposing two call to actions. The first one is, have a look at the other IT conversation sessions that we referred to. Multi-cloud and modern apps are like fish and chips, and boost the value of your VMware Cloud Foundation. And the second call to action would be Thomas' mojo. Call ITQ and we'll be happy to help you. See you next time.